Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wonderful
G'day.
to see you all. Hello.
Hello.
Hello to Heidi US team. I can see a few of you in the on the attendees.
Can say streaming in.
Yeah, fantastic. Hope you're well, everyone. Hope you've had a great day wherever you are. I think we have so we have mostly UK who are heading into their evening, and then we have our American and Canadian colleagues. We have a few brave Australians on the phone call. I'm not sure anyone other than us is online at this point. Not sure, Tom, Ben, what you think, but
Yeah, maybe some people working night shift,
yes,
Yeah.
true. And Heidi's your entertainment for those 3:30 a.m. hospital visits. Well, wherever you are, I hope you've had a great day. We'll just give us another minute or so, just to let everyone stream in. We know sometimes it takes a couple of minutes to get the Zoom working. Lovely to see some familiar faces. Um, I can see a few people coming in. Lovely. All right. Well, shall we get started, I think, Tom?
Yeah, let's do it.
Fantastic. Well, welcome everybody. Heidi Highlights for April. The last time we did this was in December to wrap up everything that had happened in what a whirlwind year was 2024. Now we're really excited to talk to you about the first few years or first few months of 2025. We are actually going to do these every month from here on in, and that's to make sure that we give you a really regular cadence of everything that's come out, make sure we talk to you more and more about what some hidden gems that we see people aren't kind of easily discovering, or maybe some really novel use cases that you're telling us about. Also, really excited to introduce everyone to a new face on the call. So, Dr. Ben Condon, welcome, Ben. Ben can tell us a bit more about himself in a bit, but he's joined Heidi about 6 weeks ago. And Ben will be spending a fair bit more time with all of you, talking through how to use Heidi. And Ben has been using Heidi himself on a regular basis. So, really excited to bring Ben into the fold. If we pop on to the next slide, please.
Mhm.
Um, Agenda for today. So in December, we tried this thing and it actually worked really well. We avoided the Zoom chaos of everyone asking questions in the chat, and we got everyone to send their questions to Leah at HeidiHealth.com. You can see my email there on the screen. We do that just because A, then I've got every question. I won't forget about you. We'll make sure we answer every single one of them. That doesn't always happen when you close off the Zoom. Sometimes the questions disappear and we don't want to lose them for you. The other piece also is we can do a few of them live on the call, and we can see where we get kind of the same question over and over again, which might indicate that a few of you have got that on your mind. So we'll do that today. As in December as well, we made sure to take a few minutes to talk about stability and quality, and we wanted to bring that to the fore. We're actually going to do that every single time to talk about why that's important. We'll go through everything that's shipped over the past couple of months, so our highlights from the past quarter, a few hidden gems. I think Ben's like burning to talk to you all about context and how he's been using context. And I think maybe it's something we'd even do a bit of a deeper dive on in another webinar moving forward. And then conferences. A lot of you go to conferences. It's a sort of one of the great things about being in this sector, that we get to see each other face to face and we don't just have to stay in the screen. But obviously, if you don't know which ones we're at, you can't come and say hello. So we thought we'd just give you a quick snapshot of which conferences we're going to be at, and also a couple of events we're holding, and we'd love to see you. So please make sure, send your questions. I'll make sure I get to them. Uh, Everyone knows Tom, our wonderful founder. So hi, Tom, who's going to drive us mostly through product today, but really excited to welcome Dr. Ben, our new clinical voice in Heidi as well, alongside our clinical team. So Ben, do you want to introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah, of course. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. So as Leah mentioned, I've just joined the team. I've got 8 years of clinical experience, mainly in surgery and emergency medicine, but recently also in some telehealth, and I've had the good fortune to use Heidi pretty extensively for the last 6 months before joining. So, yeah, really excited to be part of the team. And as Leah mentioned, you'll be seeing a lot of me in these types of forums moving forward. So, it'll be great to be part of it. But that's enough about me, and we'll crack on.
Great. So, Tom, last December, we took a good few minutes to talk about stability and quality, and we wanted to make sure we bring this forward every time. But there's been a fair amount of investment up front in this year to bring, I guess, the very best of Heidi to everyone, and it's worth, I think, spending a few minutes on it.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, so I think for those that were using Heidi at the end of last year, we were the way we described it was we were just way ahead of schedule on the number of people using Heidi every day. So we at that time we got caught a bit I guess unprepared for handling, maybe 10 times as many people as we thought might be using Heidi by the end of the year. Um, and so although maybe this last, say, 3 months, you might not have noticed as many big new feature releases. A huge amount of the engineering team and product team have been spending time just, one small improvement at a time, making Heidi more stable, more fast, and more consistent. And so there's again, it's like a constant effort. It's a really tricky product to make stable. Whenever you're using a microphone to transcribe anything, it's just a riskier kind of product. Things can go wrong. Your microphone can get stolen from a phone call, or perhaps accidentally muffle it, or there's some weird noise in the background in this particular visit. So sometimes things can go wrong. And very excited to say that we've managed to reduce note generation failures like globally by more than 50%. So that means that whenever you click start, the chances that you're going to have some issue with your note not generating has reduced really significantly. The latency, so how fast Heidi is at generating notes, has also increased quite a large amount. We were trending towards sort of 15, 16 seconds for most notes at the end of last year. It's now down to about 8 seconds. So again, roughly halved, and we're still on a journey to drive that down further. We also were talking to some of our third-party vendors at the end of last year. I think I was talking to you about getting basically privileged access to hardware so that we're not sharing infrastructure with anyone for our users. So, if you see an outage from a vendor, you're not affected because we actually have the actual chips in the cloud that are running Heidi software. And so that's come live through the quarter for paid and our enterprise users, which means that they're protected from not only more users coming onto Heidi, but actually the bigger problem we had end of last year was just how many different AI products are chasing the same resources. Yeah, so I think practically this will be a never-ending battle. We will constantly be improving stability and quality. I think it's really important for you to still share examples with us if you're having trouble, or especially if you're having consistent trouble. That is unusual. I know it can be hard because we'll talk a bit about community, but we're now processing almost three, maybe even like 4 times as many sessions as we were at the end of last year. So we've reduced failures and increased speed and tripled volume. So that the improvement is actually like about a 10x in the last 3 months across many different dimensions. But because we produce more than 1 million notes every week, even a 0.001% of issues getting surfaced means that you still see 100 messages a week. So please let us know. Consistent failures or consistent problems is not normal. There's something going wrong in the way that Heidi's writing for you, and we want to be focused on it for the next 3 months and try to find ways to stop these going wrong for you. But yeah, we'll keep talking about this area, sharing more data as we go.
Great, thank you. And one thing we wanted to call out is that we have a measure of quality at the bottom of every note. So when every note's generated, you will see this very small, very innocuous smiley face, and if you click on it, it will actually expand. The way to think about this measure is on the right-hand side, think about that as a 5, the happiest of faces. On the left-hand side, and it's a frowny face, think about that as a 1 out of 5. That is the unhappiest. So we would love to start to get a measure of note quality from you. We actually only see a few hundred of you, I think, fill in this on a regular basis. And it would be fantastic to get far more. This helps us fine tune Heidi even further. Even if you want to index towards only when you don't like the note, that's okay. But just getting as much feedback as possible on the individual notes makes a huge difference. So please make sure to do that. As Tom says, we're doing just over 1 million sessions a week. So if we know every time a note doesn't quite fit the bill, you can imagine just how much sharper we can make Heidi. Before we move on to community, I had a couple of quick questions that came in uh, on context, on copying written results in. So I think all we can deal with all those as they come in later, because I know, Ben, you're keen to get a few minutes on context. But before we move on, Ben, you were keen to chat about community and
Yeah.
letting everyone know kind of next steps there.
Yeah, of course. So it's been really great to see many of you engaging in the Facebook community. But the resounding observation we've made is that the community has been used primarily as an alternate support tool. And that's creating some issues in terms of people getting some well-intentioned but some wrong advice, and also delaying the amount of or the time or extending the time it takes for them to actually get support, because they're posting in the community rather than logging a report and getting some targeted specific help to them. So we're going to be making some changes in the coming weeks to try and make it really clear that community isn't where you go for support, just to really try and improve the turnaround time, and getting things sorted for you. And then we'll look at relaunching community to focus on those really great community engagement events with a slightly different platform soon. So we're just exploring that. So there will be more details to come. But for those of you on the Facebook community, we just wanted to flag that there'll be some changes. And the primary reason is we want to make sure that for support, you're coming to us and getting that sorted as quickly as can. And yeah, we'll have more on that soon.
Awesome. All right. Onward. And then just before we move on to what's shipped, Tom, I've had quite a few questions from people asking about free. And I think this one always comes up, so it's a great one to talk about right at the top of the webinar while we've got everyone with us. Is Heidi still committed to free? Is it something that we are committed to keeping with our users?
Yeah, 100%. I think like 95% of things that we'll present today that are new are coming to all tiers. So yeah, it's just as committed as ever, we'll always have a free product, a product where people can upgrade for themselves, and then an offering where we're in with your practice and helping you kind of configure it all. So that's, our Together and Enterprise tiers. And I think like for us, it's a more like philosophical thing that we want people to be able to use Heidi, whether or not their organization has approved it or chosen it, or, there's a really long journey here of different things that we're going to build and offer clinicians. And so making it very easy to get started and try the product is super important. And yeah, nothing's really changed. Of course, like from time to time, we'll have to balance on our side to make the economics of it all work, what features end up in free and in pro, but our default is to actually make free better and better over time. There's no reason why we're not giving you more access to different things that we're building. So yeah, as we go, we can remind you sort of how it all works, but still the main mechanism, I guess, a way that features will be limited will still be whether or not you can sort of apply your own custom templates. So as we go through different features, you'll see that most of them you should be able to use with no issue. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, on with the show.
All right.
Patient everywhere.
Yes. So so for this one, I think I'll just talk through it because I think like it's easier just to save us some time. So basically what we will let you do is we've had lots of requests to be able to do just verbatim dictation, sort of wherever your cursor is. So the way it will work is kind of like the screen grab that's currently running on the screen. You click the dictation in any tab that you're in and be able to just dictate and sort of see it all stream out. This will form the basis upon which we'll add other voice-based commands and macros, sort of similar to some other products that you might have used. And the difference between using this and maybe just resuming the session more globally or generally will be if you want to, exactly place words in certain parts of the note without typing at all, then this is where you use the kind of cursor dictation. If you want to have more like me, a slightly meandering conversation with Heidi to update your content, or you change your note in some global way, then you would resume the overall session. And yeah, we will be rolling this out sequentially over the next couple of weeks. As with any new voice-based feature, we'll be following closely, but looking forward to receiving your feedback, and hopefully this saves you some time. All right. So stop and pause. I'll send a request through to share. But this one came out in the middle of the quarter. You might have noticed that you can now, let me just jump in. Yeah, you might have noticed that you can now resume your session at any time that you like. And what you can do is you've got two choices now. So we had lots of requests where people were telling us that they had workflows where an assistant was pausing their notes, or for whatever reason, they were stopping their notes part way through. So in this case, if I just hit pause, it will show me what I've already generated, or if I haven't generated anything, it will not generate a net new note. And I can immediately start resuming and transcribing again. So you can pause and start, pause and start. When you click stop, either here or from within your visit here, we'll actually go ahead and generate a new note for you. So I think the main request we had was that people were wanting to stop Heidi writing or have more control. So for example, let's say, oh, actually, I want to be able to jump back in. I can just click stop. And we've reverted back to the note that I had at the point in time. And then I click resume and I can start recording more quickly. So this is all just about giving you more control, just like you deciding when you want us to give access to generating a note, and when you want us to just pause and wait for you to click start again. So just remember, pause, stop transcribing is to generate your notes. That's it.
I think everyone got a
Thanks,
little
Tom.
extra sneak peek there, Tom.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
We look forward to sharing. Just while Ben's bringing up the screen as well. I've had someone in the UK, and Ben's great question about context, which I know you're going to add some extra details later. And here we are. Someone has asked,
Yeah.
can we upload documents into context?
Yeah. So we're really excited about this, and we've made some introduced context and made it so that you're able to upload up to 100 different documents into context. And really, context is for all of giving Heidi the same level of context and understanding about what's been going on with your patient before the visit. And ensuring that you don't have to verbalize things that you wouldn't normally in a consultation, just so Heidi is aware of what's going on. So whether it be a referral letter from a colleague along with some recent notes, or if you want to upload a discharge letter and recent bloods, context is a really rich way to give Heidi a bit more of a heads up and to give you deeper, more accurate notes in combination with your transcript. So we're really excited about what this will mean for all of you in terms of improving the quality of the output that Heidi can make, but also saving you a lot of time, avoiding a kind of unnecessary dictation or verbalizing those features so that Heidi's up to speed. So we'll talk a little bit more about some extra features in context in Hidden Gems, but yeah, we're really excited to have context up and really encourage you all to use it as much as you can.
Great.
All right. So this one, I'm very excited. I guess this is part of a bigger journey to try to make Heidi more hands-free. So I think whenever you use Heidi, generally what our expectation is that you want it to, in one shot, automatically write really well, very precisely, following your template instructions and your voice instructions to kind of nail what we're outputting. And so I think middle of last year, we were finding that there were two distinct preferences that were appearing in the user base. There was a group that wanted us to be slightly more objective and just generate a note as fast as possible. So for example, if someone was doing an examination and you grab their ankle and you hear in the transcript, I'm just going to grab your foot now. Oh, ow, ow, ow. Don't, just put it down, please. That the way that Heidi could interpret that transcript has a couple of different ways to do it. So one way would be where you're just completely objective, like you don't add any reasonable guesses about what you think happened. You just say that there was, pain at some point during the left leg examination or the leg examination. The other option is based on what happened in the visit. So let's say this was a back pain visit, and the person has left-sided sciatica based on the history, that this is a limited left straight leg raise. Or if they've broken their ankle and fallen off their bike, that this is a tenderness in the left lateral epicondyle of the ankle or something like that. And so we split those two options by left and right being the option where Heidi was making slightly more inference and spending more time thinking through the implications of the visit, and left being the one where you're just doing sort of fast, objective notes. We're changing this to be to call it a scribe and to better capture those two options of brain within a single standard option, so that you don't have to toggle between the different sort of ways that Heidi could write inside your visit. So I'm just going to jump in again and show you. So practically what this will look like, if I just jump into a session. Let me jump into a different session. Still recording in the background. Let me just jump into a different session. So what this will look like is you'll notice that we've reduced the number of options that appear here. So it's all bundled into this one style page. And you'll see that there's two scribing options. So standard is the one that we think will apply for most clinicians most of the time. So it's the fastest and it's actually good for most sessions. So we made some changes here compared to left and right in the processing pipeline, which means that this will be useful for a larger number of users than currently maybe we find left is good enough for them. So I highly recommend, once this rolls out to you, you should be defaulting back to standard and see how you go with your notes. If you're finding that you still need that extra kind of inference or like reasonable guesses, or I guess thinking is the best way to think of it, then there's this extended mode here. And so you'll notice extended will be consistently a lot slower to generate. So you can see here, Heidi's dwelling on the task for slightly longer, and then the note will stream out. And the amount of time that Heidi sits there dwelling on the task will depend on the complexity of what you're generating, where standard, if I apply standard, will typically stream out quite a lot faster than the standard. Like you notice that, maybe it's about a 5-second difference. But this is only a 5-minute visit with no context. So if you had a longer visit, like an hour visit, there will be a really material difference between the two options as far as speed goes. And yeah, hopefully over time, Heidi's more and more hands-free. We just know what you're trying to generate, know based on your template and your previous notes, sort of how to structure your notes. And yeah, hopefully this kind of simplifies things. I think if you have an existing very strong preference for left or for right, you'll find extended behaves similarly to right most of the time, and standard behaves slightly more like left, but it isn't one for one. There are some new changes that are coming with this update where standard should automatically apply. It basically just give it a try. I would try standard most of the time, and then if you're finding you need some extra oomph, give extended a go for your notes and see which you prefer.
And it's just worth reiterating that everyone has access to standard, which will work for most of the sessions, but that the extended is for pro users at this
Yes.
stage.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. All right.
Awesome. And I think everyone got a bit of a preview there of expanding voice, but we'll talk now again about voice,
Yeah,
Tom.
exactly. So let me just jump back on. So the other exciting thing that we're doing here as part of updating style is giving you a mechanism within your 4 existing voice options to see what is actually going into those voices. So we had lots of requests that, I really like brief, but I prefer that it doesn't have abbreviations, or I really want Goldilocks to actually be a little bit more detailed. Like I like the way it writes, but I want it to be slightly more detailed. And oh wait, let me share again. Can you guys see that now? Yeah. Um, and basically, this allows you to create your own custom voices. So you can change aspects of how the notes will get applied. You can, create higher detail options and basically toggle and create your own. Um, we see this, the benefit of this being that over time you'll have probably some small changes that you might want to make for voices. So one that always frustrated me was I really like the more detailed notes, but I also like using abbreviations, and I don't like the patient quotes. So I would maybe want like the highest level of detail possible, but it's fine. You can use abbreviations, and it's fine. You can use bullet points, because I actually, prefer that. I find it more readable than the narrative kind. And now I can apply this to my notes, and it will still feel like a more detailed note than maybe one of the existing options, but it won't. And you can see it's using bullet points, and it's included abbreviations like MSK and a few other things. And yeah, hopefully you find this useful. We still prioritize your template instructions. This is the way Heidi currently works. So if in your templates you're telling Heidi to write in a narrative format or to reformat a certain section of your template in a particular way, it will still behave that way. But for your more general templates or some of the default ones, your voice will still have a big impact on how Heidi writes. Yeah, that's it. And again, this
And
is one that's coming to free. So you'll be able to do this. And we're intentionally being opinionated here, limiting you to the 4 options so that you don't create like cognitive overload. You only have these 4 options. And if you do want to reset to defaults, you just go back and reset them. Yeah.
a great question from Jane in the UK. Hi, Jane. She's keen to know what Goldilocks is, and I know we get this question a fair bit. So it's a little nice Easter egg for our users, right, Tom?
Yeah, exactly. It's from the child's fairy tale. The is it the It's like I don't even remember the story. This is how bad it is. I just remember the meaning of Goldilocks. It's just right. It's like the porridge is not too hot and not too cold. It's just right. And then I think the bear eats Goldilocks, or I can't remember the exact ending of the story.
I think you might be confusing it with Red Riding Hood, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
The most important thing is that we say that we think Goldilocks is a really nice medium ground for everyone.
yeah,
So not too detailed, not detailed, and not too brief. Just it fits you just right.
exactly.
Just before we talk about beta, I've had a few questions coming in. One from Ying, and then I've had a few others around a really nice, clear way to let patients know they can be comfortable with Heidi. And Ben and Tom, obviously, I know both of you will have used this a lot. Ben, particularly being in a busy hospital, trying to explain this to patients, and just wondered if there's a couple snappy one-liners that are super clear, that don't kind of delve too far into the tech, that maybe might be useful for anyone on the call who's struggling a bit.
Yeah. Ben, do you want to talk through how you?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I often just mention to patients that I'm using a scribe called Heidi, and it's going to help me write my note faster. And then that data is all stored securely, and ticked off like all kind of medical software is. and it's nice and safe, stored locally. But it's really designed just to help me see patients faster, get my notes faster, and get them out of the emergency department faster, which everyone is pretty on board with that. So yeah, I try and frame it like that. There's lots of different ways to do it, but I think the big thing really is patients respond really well when you normalize something. I think if you're comfortable, they're comfortable. As a general rule of thumb when it comes to these sorts of things. So, is there anything you'd add, Tom, that you do slightly differently?
No, I think you can also mention, yeah, the benefit, like, I use Heidi, like it runs in the background. It will listen to our visit, create my notes, but the biggest benefit is I can focus on you, so I don't have to type during the visit. They don't store the data, they don't use it for any other purposes besides my notes, and it'll all be put in the record in the end. Yeah, are you okay if I use it? Something like that. Yep.
If it helps
Perfect.
anyone, on our resource center on the website, you will find lots of different documents there. There's patient explainers, there's things you can pop up on your TVs in clinic, which can be really helpful. Website pages you can add so that if someone confirms an appointment, maybe you're in primary care, and they can read things ahead of time, and then they just opt out of you using Heidi versus you need to consent every single patient. Completely up to you, but there's a lot of different ways. But we'll follow up afterwards with a couple of you who've asked that question, and we'll give you a link to the resource center. Lots of people asking me about documents and context, Ben. So it's going to have
Okay, cool.
context time to shine, but onto
The
beta.
teaser's working. Perfect. Cool. Yeah. Before we jump into beta, we just wanted to draw everyone's attention to Heidi Labs, which you can turn on in your preferences. So if you opt into Heidi Labs, you'll get access to features in beta before the rest of Heidi users. And really, for those of you who are keen to see what's coming and be involved with that early rollout, Heidi Labs is the toggle that you need to turn on. But I think just to explain what beta is and why we're focusing a little bit of time on it. We got some feedback that we
I'm
were
gonna share
being,
again.
oh yeah, that we were. Am I not sharing?
No,
No. Okay. Sorry. Let
that's right.
me.
Ben, I've just had a great observation from someone that says that PS Ben looks like Ted Lasso. So
Oh, perfect.
I hope that makes your morning.
But can you see my screen? I'm not going to give motivational TED Talks for fictional sports teams, but that's okay.
You see the
Yeah,
screen?
so you can
Yep.
see the screen now? Yeah,
Yep.
perfect. Awesome. So we got some feedback that we were using beta inconsistently, and we just wanted to kind of quickly tighten up what beta is and what that means. So essentially, we've tested every feature in beta extensively internally, and it's at a point where we're confident those features are ready to roll out. But as Leah mentioned before, we can only test so much internally, and we do with the volume of consultations that we're doing each week. When we first release features into beta, we do get a lot of feedback and things that we can change and evolve really quickly. And beta is just our mechanism to let you know that things are still changing. We're still kind of working on this feature, in pretty quick iterations to try and get it up to speed for general availability. We're really committed to making sure that we're going to continue beta long term. We think it's really great to kind of show our work and build in the open transparently as much as possible. And we know that for many of you that have ticked into Heidi Labs, you're really keen to kind of be the first to see it, and we want to honor that support and that interest in what Heidi's building. So that's what beta is, and then just going to run through a few features now that you'll see either in beta currently or coming in the next couple of weeks. So Tom in his demo before did give you a little bit of a preview of this, but Tom, do you want to explain what improved transcription means and looks like?
Yes. So this one we've been working on behind the scenes for a little while. This goes back to stability and quality. So what I'll do is I'll just turn it on in the background while I chat away.
You're going to share your screen again, mate?
Yes. Can you see that? No.
Oh
Yes.
yeah,
Damn. One sec. Just sharing again.
yeah, gotcha.
Excellent. Okay. So what you'll find is that when you start transcribing, once this is turned on for you, what Heidi will do is split the screen into two. So on one side, we've got our transcript running, and on the right-hand side, you've got the normal context and note tabs that you would have seen in the past. And so you can still apply your template in your voice while the visit's ongoing. And as Heidi processes each section of your transcript, you'll see the transcript appearing. So you can see it's what I was saying out loud, and it's generating the transcript on the go. The reason we do it like this, rather than like that dictation everywhere kind of verbatim style of transcript, is this sort of chunked transcription actually leads to much better quality. So a common example is medicine names, or like fossa, phospho, like the words that sound very similar when you're doing live transcription. The analogy that I usually use is like, imagine you're a typist at the UN and you're hearing all this information, and you, in that exact moment, you have to nail the word that was said in the sound that you heard. You don't get any grace to listen back and think about what the context was of that sentence. You just have to, based on the sound that you hear, create a perfect transcript. So kind of that instantaneous live transcription, while it seems elegant, is actually much worse quality. That's why for the longest time we never had a way for you to see the live transcription, because we would making the choice that having the absolute best quality notes was more important than showing you some sort of live streaming, even though some of our competitors would have it, but we knew that it was causing your notes to be worse overall. The great thing with this is that it's balancing kind of the best of both worlds. So here you still get that sort of semi-real time, 40 seconds at a time chunk. But you can see that rather than this saying like YOU and the letter N, it's figured out that I was talking about the UN. And it's just like a much better transcript than any live transcript you'll have ever tried. The reason that this is going to start off in beta is this is pretty close to the fire. This is, exactly what you use Heidi for. We're confident that this is ready for wider release. We've got automated tests and a million different ways that we try to make sure that these features are ready to go. But with any beta, as Ben was saying, basically what it means to us is that we're ready to cast the net wider and get more surface area of users. So as much as we tried internally, we can never replicate a million different sessions in a week. And as we ramp it up, we'll just find things that we didn't expect or we weren't anticipating. And that's the improvements to transcription. The other thing that you'll notice is that it's being processed a lot faster. So that's back to the speed and stability improvements. And because it's happening as you go, that means when you click stop at the end, it should mostly already have been processed. You might just be waiting for a few parts of the transcript to finalize. But for the most part, it's kind of been created as you went. I think that's the main parts of it. When we roll this out, there will still be some times when you don't see the live transcription happening. So if you have very tricky internet or a tricky setting, maybe very noisy, there will be some times when Heidi will decide that the live transcription won't be good enough for you. You might find a distraction. So we won't show you the split. It'll just be like old Heidi showing you the notes. And you'll get your transcript and note at the end, like always. Yeah, I think that's kind of it.
The only other thing to mention is that you'll have the ability to turn this off if you find it distracting,
Yes.
as well. So you'll always be able to turn this on or off as you see fit. But it's also a great. We're hoping that it will give people confidence that Heidi is transcribing as well. So seeing it in action is always reassuring, particularly if you're doing longer sessions. So yeah, that will be coming now. Let me just share my screen again.
While you're sharing, getting quite a few questions around like, when are all these great things coming?
Yeah.
The key thing for everyone to call out is if you pop into your Heidi preferences, you will see, and scroll down to the bottom, you will see Heidi Labs. Please make sure you are opted in only if you are comfortable giving new features a go. And just remember what that will mean is you might log into Heidi and something shifts around that day. So please make sure that You give it a go, but also don't be afraid to toggle it off if it doesn't work for you. If you know you've got a really busy clinic day, or maybe you tried it a little while ago and you'd like to give it another go again. You don't have to kind of just leave it off, on or off by default. But that's the quickest way to do it. But all these things are kind of being shown over the next couple of months, so you won't have to wait too long.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. Cool. Just checking you can see the screen again. Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Awesome. So the next feature that we're rolling out for those now together tier and above is adding admin or non-clinical user seats to your Heidi account. We know that this was a hotly requested feature, but adding an extra non-clinician with a full clinical clinician price wasn't really appealing. So we're rolling this out to our together and tiers and above, so that you can add in your non-clinical staff. There are a few things that they can't do. They'll be able to do most things, but they won't be able to generate a note. And we've kept that initial note really as the primary clinical action, but they'll be able to upload context, pre-chart your sessions for you, generate letters or documents. Tom, am I kind of missing
Yeah.
anything? Yeah, no.
Yeah, and then the only other one is for dictation, listening back to your playback and sending things to patients or exporting them. But yeah, I think pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. So yeah, it'll be great to add your administrative staff onto Heidi and get them using it and loving it too. So we're really excited about that. Coding, one of the most common questions we get, Tom.
Yeah, yeah. So this one is starting to roll out. I'll quickly jump in and show you. So basically, based on the visit, we will show a series of applicable codes. Let me again. I just never want to stop recording. It's too many great moments. So just to show you, basically you'll see it generating in the top right-hand corner. We're trying to keep it fairly subtle, but if you click into it, that's where you'll see a list of codes that could be applicable to your visit. Depending on what region you're in, you'll see different coding sets that might be reasonable to use. So I'm set up as the UK on this one. So you'll see SNOMED here, but we'll also add ICD-10, which is relevant to Australia, the US, and we're going to roll off many different code systems through the year. Each of them have some work and engineering we have to do to make them work, but we have like the main infrastructure to set all this up. And so basically based on the visit, Heidi actually behaves like a coder. So Heidi, will be busily in the background searching these databases for you as the visit runs, and then surfacing an ordered list of what we think is most relevant and moderately relevant, and then maybe slightly less relevant. So kind of like what I was saying before, straight leg raising and a few other things that might be relevant, but we don't think are ones that you're going to pick. And we know this is early, so we know that coding touches other people in your team, maybe, revenue cycle or administrative staff. So some of these kind of work together where you might have an assistant who's coming to your session and coding your visit for you separately. And that's part of why we're still putting it in beta, because we want to get feedback about how you're using it, if there are things you like, dislike, how you'd want this to play with your medical records as well, so we can sort of finalize and finish the feature through the year.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. Let me.
While Ben's doing that, I'm going to sneak in a couple of questions
Go
on
for it.
mobile app and what to do if you're moving around a lot in a session and you move away from the computer. So this is a great example of how to set Heidi up for success, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. So the mobile recording in general is always quite hard, just because, yeah, there are more things that can go wrong. So my general advice would be, if you can, putting your phone on do not disturb is helpful while you're doing your recording. You click start initially, and then, yeah, we've seen all sorts of good ideas. Like we've had people who use Bluetooth microphones, or they'll put their phone in like their top pocket, but test it a few times so they know the microphone isn't being muffled by their pocket. And basically, we would suggest you should still be able to use the mobile app as it's currently built if pretty much anywhere where you have decent internet. The main area where the current mobile app doesn't do particularly well is where you've got some combination of offline or low bandwidth combined with some interruptions or other issues during the visit. But if you have strong internet, it will generally work. You won't have too many problems. Mobile app in general, not to steal the thunder from this slide, but we're busily working hard behind the scenes on a new mobile app that's basically coded from the ground up in native code for each of iOS and Android. So for those in engineering, that's Swift and Kotlin. That means that rather than us having what the app currently is, which is sort of like a wrapper of the website into a mobile app, you'll have like an actual completely ground up build just for iOS and just for Android. And we get to leverage all of the system level preferences and architecture in those devices, which means a couple of things. It will be faster. It will become borderline infallible, like you should never lose a session because of connectivity or other issues. And even there's a chance we'd be able to do some processing completely offline, like in an airplane mode as well. So yeah, short answer is there's a larger release coming in the next quarter around improving it. We're hopefully going to get it in general release early June in iOS, with Android to follow a couple months after. But I would suggest just testing your workflow. Like, for example, spend a day in your normal workflow using Heidi, but still taking notes alongside. And then after you've done that and you feel confident and Heidi's working well, and is comparable or hopefully better than what you're documenting, then you can start to transition to using Heidi for your notes. That's a general suggestion that I would make. Like, I wouldn't on one day like cold turkey stop writing any of your own notes and hope that it nails it. Like, there's a nice way to do it, is to slowly transition off. And if you're finding it's not working in certain adversarial cases, just maybe we're not ready yet, give us the feedback and wait for the new app. Yeah.
Fantastic. And make sure if you toggle on Heidi Labs, because you're so keen to get the mobile app, then you'll get an invitation into the beta. And Andrea, our lovely product manager, is working super hard to get that ready for everyone. So yeah, looking forward to letting you know about all of that. Multilingual, just conscious of time, so I'll just do a quick one on multilingual. So as everyone will know, when you clicked language in your session, you would see this drop down and this very enigmatic term of multilingual would show up, and you wouldn't know which languages it meant. You wouldn't know whether or not it meant multiple languages being spoken in the session. So we've just decided to make this far clearer. So what will change is, rather than just seeing this multilingual tag, we will remove this option, but we'll add in all the languages it covers, and we'll add a beta tag next to each language. So that will mean that then well over 20 languages that multilingual can actually support will be like listed in that drop down for you. The other piece to call out is that we'll be able to then manage them individually as to which ones come out of beta instead of in one block. Caveat being, please make sure that you use multilingual or you use a language setting when you are fluent and you and the patient are fluent in that language. If you would ever need to rely on an interpreter in that clinical scenario, then you should still continue to do that. Heidi's not an interpreter at this stage. We would love to get to a point where you don't even need to indicate the language. You can just start your session and Heidi can handle it. And I did have a physio come up to me in Sydney a couple of weeks ago and tell me that this is actually working for him, that he'll just speak in Mandarin in his sessions and not change it. But at this stage, the supported use case is you select your language that you're speaking to your patient in at the start of the session. And we look forward to adding more of these in. Great. On to
Awesome.
next, I think.
I'm just going to quickly touch on alpha, so going back in the alphabet, but wanted to explain what alpha is, and really alpha we're working very closely with some clinics that have signed up to be part of alpha trials for bigger projects that require a lot more work. You get assigned a project manager and an engineer, and we work really, really closely with those partner clinics in testing and rolling out new features. So if you're interested in alpha, we will include a link to kind of sign up or register your interest to participate in alpha trials as we roll out new features. And we'd love to kind of build out that community of really, really keen alpha members. But this alpha use case will become really clear when we go to the next slide. And we alluded to it at the end of last year, but I'm going to let Tom talk to calls and what's coming around the corner.
Yeah. Yeah. So last time, it was very mysterious with Heidi ending our webinar with some dulcet tones. But yeah, we've got calls in alpha now, which we're really excited about. The reason we're calling it calls is because it's basically giving Heidi like a new capability, and we'll over the next few years, the way we see Heidi expanding beyond just your notes is basically being able to do things that maybe a clinician might be able to do. So, calling is a unit